Hello everyone and welcome to Helen's Honest Baking. Today we are testing out Joanna Gaines's chocolate chip cookie recipe from her best-selling book right here, Magnolia Table Volume 1 of 3. First we're going to get 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour in a bowl and whisk up absent-mindedly with a mini whisk because it's cute and it gives you more control. And no, that's not in the recipe. Next up is 1 heaping teaspoon of baking soda. And your guess is as good as mine as to how extravagant to heap, so let's just go with this. Next we add half a teaspoon of sea salt to our mix and away we whisk. While I do that, it's a good time to mention that I've got the oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit with 2 parchment-lined cookie sheet trays in there. In my shiny bowl here, I've got 1 stick of room temperature unsalted butter in cubes. For those of us who come from parts of the world where a stick of butter is just plain confusing, that's about 113 grams. I only just recently upgraded to a stand mixer after all of these years, so I'm going to look a little tentative here and there with my cherry red beast here. And it also clearly needs a name, so I'm looking for options, and feel free to judge me. The best chocolate chip cookies all have some brown sugar in them, so here we go with 2 cups, which in all honesty does seem like a lot. So we cream the butter and sugar together on a low to medium speed for 3 to 5 minutes until it's nice and fluffy. Not forgetting to scrape down the sides of the bowl. I wasn't too happy with my mix here, and I suspect the butter to sugar ratio is a little bit off, but we'll see what that does to our cookie. So what comes next? Ta-da! 2 nearly room temperature eggs. Yes, I'm being a little bit dangerous here, choosing not to crack my egg into a cup first. But hey, when was the last time you got a rotten egg? And there are already so many dishes to wash in our lives. Next up is my favorite ingredient of all time, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. It just smells so good, and I love getting the high quality stuff as a little indulgence. So we'll mix that in, being careful not to overdo it. Continue to struggle with your stand mixer, and be sure to spill flour all over the bench as you mix that in 2 halves. This is just part of the recipe, just until combined so it doesn't get too tough. I can already tell that the dough is so much better than my practice run where I thought I would be cool and translate all of Joanna's cup measures to grams. But, well, what I got was a sickly sweet mess and cookies 6 inches across, so I had to question the qualifications of the internet to do that in future. Now, I'm clearly trying to make a big deal here out of scraping down the sides of the bowl, mainly because I always forget to do it or I just don't want to because I'm lazy, and then I regret it later. But ultimately, it all depends on how forgiving you are of streaks and a few dodgy cookies. And now for the key ingredient, chocolate chippies. I've gone for dark chocolate chips here, and Joanna calls for 1.5 cups of semi-sweet ones. I know some other recipes prefer to use a mix of milk and dark, or to chop up a block of semi-sweet, which always seems like a lot of extra effort, and I think you risk inferior chocolate chips if you ask me. Again, we only want to mix them until they're just combined. And look how nice that dough is. I'm kind of proud. Now's the time to go get those hot trays. I like having them hot so that our cookies have a nice crispy bottom, but the downside is that it's really easy to forget that your tray is hot, so please be very careful. I still have a blister from the last time I absent-mindedly grabbed the edge. So next we accept a medium cookie scoop from the hand of God and begin balling up our dough. I actually only recently got converted to cookie scoops, and honestly the trigger is just plain addictive and I am a child. So our dough balls will need plenty of room to spread on the tray, so be mindful of that. Otherwise, you can just enjoy a pull-apart cookie monster with ice cream later, which isn't really a loss. Off these go into that 350-degree oven for 11 minutes. If you follow the recipe. My oven's a bit sketch, so I checked after 11 minutes and decided they got suspiciously soggy in the middle, and so I gave them an extra 3 minutes to compensate. And with movie magic, here they are! Next, we attempt to get a spatula under them. Realize this is dumb, and that I can actually just pick them up. So onto the cooling rack they go at super speed. We've got a nice crisp bottom, And now let's check that cross-section while it's still gooey and warm. I clearly forgot you guys can't see from far, so here it is again up close. It has a nice stretch to it and holds together pretty well. And here comes the taste test. And now for the all-important rating system. For appearance, I'm going with a 3.5 out of 5, mainly because they look pale and a bit pockmarked, because the sugar content is a bit high in my opinion, but still, they're above average because they hold together well, are a good size, and the chocolate chip distribution is quite good. For the taste, I'm sorry to say it, but I've gone with a 2.5. I love Joanna's cooking and baking, but I find these are a bit sweet for me. For texture, I was quite happy and went with a 4. Crisp on the outside, held together well without being too cakey, and a uniform consistency throughout. And finally, the ease of the recipe was a 3. There's room for improvement. I prefer measurements in grams to speed up the preparation process and remove any ambiguity, which is a home baker's nightmare, but otherwise the instructions were mostly clear and comprehensive, without much guesswork needed to fill in the steps. So that gives us an overall score of 13 out of 20. Not bad for our first recipe, but I'm sure we can find some better ones out there from our baking idols and influencers. And ultimately, this is still a great chocolate chip cookie. Seriously. And we're comparing the best out of the best here. And I encourage you to check out Magnolia Table, Volume 1, or heck, just all the volumes, by Joanna Gaines, from the link below or wherever you get your good books. I'd love to hear your comments as to what you think of this recipe, how it went for you, and if you've got any challenges for me to try out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you for the next challenge. Bye!